Ndwale, Mukomen, Susan Kihika, Professor Kindiki, Kimani Ichung'wa. You can't, there must be a problem somewhere. And if the president had managed politics the conventional way, reaching out, persuasion, consensus, concurrence, we will not be where we are. But using the police to manage politics cannot work. And you can see the level of defiance has gone higher. Out of 172 members of parliament, he's left with barely 20. That's why the NDC could not take place, because the president did not want a census. He would have gone for NDC, and UDA would have had a parliamentary group meeting, and the numbers would have been very glaring. Be as it may, we are not playing to the game of Raila Odinga. We have our own game. Ourselves, already we have a party, the UDA. We have a presidential candidate. We have an economic model bottom up. That's what we are selling. And you don't do manifesto until you are ready. The bottom up economic model is undergoing public participation. And a lot of ideas keep on coming up every day. The deputy president has 10, 15 meetings every day. And that is why the president was saying he is too fast and he should go a bit slow so that Raila Odinga can catch up. We are telling the president, we are telling the president to determine the pace of his candidate and leave our candidate.
But you know the script say the race is not for the swift.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I'm saying.
and for the
let
strong.
me tell you, the country.
Yeah, but
the problems in this country. All of them. The problems in this country. Reviving the economy, putting this country back on track to where Kibaki left it. He's a swift guy. You can't be slow. In fact, we have asked the public whether the deputy president should reduce the speed or increase. Right. And the public has said he should actually increase the speed.
Yeah. What Rigathi is saying is that Honorable Raila Odinga is buffering. Yeah.
every
you need to
time
weaken the internet a bit.
Brother Rigathi,
the bandwidth.
I wish he had been given the top job of being the campaign messaging chairman for the DP, which I think is doing very well. The truth is, I don't think that's what President Uhuru was saying. He was not saying that William is so fast, Raila is not catching up. No, he was saying, when you start a journey, you better be careful, because you may be thinking that the speed at which you're running that race is going to be the best, and most likely it may not be. Number two, Honorable Gachagua, you know, let's be very candid with ourselves. What are the issues in our country? Why has the economy collapsed? The economy collapsed because the Jubilee government, which your deputy president has been party to, from the time when the presidency in 2014 took over the leadership of this country, has not come up with solutions to that problem, to the problems which we have. The issues which have been our issues in our country are our responsibility, in fact, all of us. And what sometimes baffles many of us is that, let us look at what happened from the time when the Jubilee administration took over power until now. Of course, I will give the devil his credit. There are actually certain things that Jubilee has done reasonably well. I'm comfortable with that, and I can explain one or two. I'm very comfortable with it. But if you look at all the substantive issues, number one, when President Uhuru decided to have a handshake with Raila, immediately there was suspicion about this handshake. And yet, in reality, our country was headed for the doldrums. Why? We understand. We don't have to repeat this over and over again. Number two, whether the president involved the deputy president or he did not, as far as I'm concerned, actually, the reason why there's been an issue, the fight between the President Uhuru and the deputy president, is because of what you just said. You guys have been having 160 members of parliament who, if Uhuru did not negotiate the handshake with Raila, he would have impeached him. So you made Uhuru what he has become. Your team actually has driven Uhuru to the point where every single misstep that Uhuru has made is because you people made him so insecure. And your group, that they were going to impeach him.
Is the other way around? Insinuating that there was a parallel government running.
Absolutely.
William Ruto.
Absolutely.
Is the other way around?
That is the issue we never talk about. There was a deliberate attempt by the deputy president with Gachagua and his friends. They moved with their troops. They put the troops together. They then were preparing to actually get rid of Uhuru.
Let me come in.
Let me
Can you have a rejoinder, then I'll come to you.
Let me
Okay.
just, to start with, that is not true. We never decided Uhuru. It's Uhuru who's 3 years out. Okay?
But given what you say,
No, I'm saying,
he was condescending, he was talking you down.
I'm saying he decided to build bridges. And we were in agreement. But at the same time started destroying the old ones. We say don't destroy old bridges because they are tested and they have served you well. Keep the old bridges and build the new ones. He became rough, he became brutal, he became intolerant, he became dictatorial. Okay? And you know, these people are all grown-ups. They are leaders their own right. You can't throw Gachagua around and tell him where to follow. You know, loyalty is not transferable. Our loyalty was to Uhuru Kenyatta. We cannot transfer it to somebody else because he is saying so. So these 160 members of parliament, he's the one, Aden Duale, leader of majority, very committed, patriotic man who has served Kenyatta well. He threw him out. He threw Murkomen out. He threw Keheka out. He threw Kidiki out. He literally threw everybody out. He removed us from committees. What were we supposed to do? Go and kneel down before him and say, King, we are sorry, will you forgive us? We have not done anything wrong to him. So what happens is that people have moved on. In any case, Dibal, President Uhuru Kenyatta, my friend, I've served him for 20 years. He's not a candidate in the next election. We are not in contest with Uhuru Kenyatta. We are in contest with Raila Odinga. And all we have been asking President Uhuru Kenyatta to do is to be grateful and happy that we made him president and retire peacefully like Mwai Kibaki, and don't try to chaperone us around and dictate to us as to who is the next president. He must let us have our freedom. He must let us exercise our mind. He must allow the democratic place to take place without interference. So nobody has ever even contemplated impeaching Uhuru Kenyatta. For what purpose? This is our government. We are the ones who elected President Kenyatta and campaigned for him.
Right,
we want him to finish his term. We have our programs that we would want to be done, even if he has mistreated us.
Thank you.
We have never sabotaged his programs in Parliament. We have passed any legislation he has brought. We have passed his budget. We have remained respectful.
Thank you.
There is nobody who has ever thought about impeaching him. It has never been a discussion by anybody, and it will not happen. We are waiting for our time in another 7 months.
Thank you.
We go to the elections.
So now, let me come. Again, as I said earlier, we want to discuss what we think is happening and what we don't know. But what is stated, we leave on the side. During the launch of BBI, President Uhuru clearly said the deputy president was aware of all that was going on. He was duly informed. But what he even stated, but he started running ahead with the campaigns while actually we were looking at ways of bringing the country to peace. And so you can't blame the president if your deputy does not want, and Honorable Gachagua said, the duty of the deputy president is to do and work with the president as instructed. If the president said, well, we find ourselves in this situation, there's a lot of chaos in the country, and talking to the other side, having a handshake is something we can do. Why didn't he just do that as dutifully as the honorable member would want him to do, if that is what he's supposed to do? And this thing that actually people had to run. My understanding is that I think the deputy president didn't mean well for the president right from the beginning. I think in those days that there were buddies and putting nice ties, I think the deputy president was actually building his team within the system, looking at the coming elections.
Yes.
Yeah, and so what really happened, I think what we probably realized, that I'm alone. All these guys that are saying they're with me actually there with the deputy president. So they're actually running a government that I have no control of. Now when I have chaos and I want them to support me and I'm saying, let's talk to the other side so that we have peace. Look at this peaceful situation. How can we all come together? Like exactly what happened in 2007 when after the Kilaguni discussion, then people said, let's move on and find out how we can bring peace in the country. Here, when there's a handshake and we are saying, what is the problem? We go through the 9 points and say, we can have a handshake, we can have temporary peace, but let's look at what is wrong with the country. Let's go through them one by one. At that time, your deputy doesn't want to hear of it. And then the own interpretation, he has a different intentions or a different direction from me. And if he then runs away, and then his troop that he must have created before around the 2007 election nomination, then you have no choice. You can let them go.
Thank you.
But again, if we are saying it's very fast, you need somebody who is fast, we should have had the manifestos a long time ago. You don't become fast by going in the street and campaigning and talking before you put in place the things that people can look at and read and discuss in the form of manifesto. Even if it's a manifesto, give us 1, 2, 3, 4. These are what we want to do. So you cannot, I don't even think being fast is just campaigning. But looking at the needs of the country, the issues that need to be raised, is not fast in that direction. I've not seen it.
All right, thank you, thank you. Was the deputy president also overly demanding, especially when we had, the positions in cabinet, in ministerial positions that we have, a 50-50 sort of parallel, doling out all the positions.
How the government is shared, that of course is a private matter between those who form government. And
it's a private matter, yes, but it is also bringing out the features that we're seeing currently. If they fall out and don't have really an agreement, then we have this particular
and this is
scenario that we are
where
experiencing
political
right now.
mistrust and deceit comes in. Politics of dishonesty, and this is what we are seeing and what is at play. And I would like us to be more candid. In fact, when you talk of the president really said, oh, I've talked to the deputy president, and he's saying it in public. And the deputy president stood up and made his case and gave his views on the Constitution. I think we'll be overstating and over-indicting the deputy president. The deputy president stood up and gave his reservations when you were at Bomas. And I remember also stood up and I said, we need, and is the practice of any constitutional consensus. Listening to other people's opinions is key. You can't push people away and purport to be making a constitutional review process. So I think the president here is not being honest. The president over time has manipulated many things in terms of governance within this country. And Dibal, I would come and look at the social and democracy front. The civil societies thrived so much during Kibaki time. And the trade unions operated freely during Kibaki's time. And when you look at during Kibaki's time, the civil societies have been destroyed completely and obliterated. Mm-hmm. And this, the buck stops squarely at the desk of the president, Uhuru Kenyatta. And look at the trade unions. He has been busting trade unions, and that I can speak from the front where I am, and you can see where unions are. They are finished. And he has also been busting any political opposition. So really, it would be wrong for us even to move into 2022 without looking at the demeanor of governance of the current president. I think this is one president who doesn't trust many people within his government. And it's not right to run a government where you don't trust the people you have been elected and you have been given to work with, even those who have been appointed through whatever agreement.
But it should be a non-issue. It should be a non-issue, right?
It should be a
non-issue right now.
And that is what,
no, regardless, just indicated.
It should be an issue.
It should be an issue. We've crossed that particular Rubicon right now.
It should be an issue.
It doesn't matter because actually it's out of his way.
It matters a lot. And you see, Americans, somebody, Richard Nixon said, tell Americans the truth and the country will be safe. Let us tell Kenyans the truth. What is the problem? who bears the greatest responsibility with the current political complications. It is wrong to begin directing arsenals at an innocent man called the deputy president who played his role by agreeing to work with the president and ensuring that the president was elected twice unanimously, even in very complicated
Musale will not really agree with you. Musale will not really agree with you. Just a moment, I need to bat in.
I don't need to agree with Musale. I think I have my own space of opinion. And in this situation, let us not play politics. Let us speak the truth and agree. We are moving to 2022 with a political environment that has been personally complicated by the president who's objective.
I need to bat in. Sorry,
we don't know.
Thank you very much. I need to bat in.
And therefore, where we are, in as much as we talk, in as much as we try to analyze, Kenyans are reading what is happening.
Thank you.
And Kenyans will take their decisions.
Right.
And Kenyans
thank you. The reason also I'm throwing Musalia Mudavadi on this table is the fact that Musalia has been on record also saying that, you know, the problem with Kenyan politics, right, is Raila Odinga. Not, as you mentioned, Uhuru Kenyatta. And maybe I want you to chime in.
Is completely different. Right now, the problem of Kenyan politics is Uhuru Kenyatta.
Thank you. Let's hear from
Musale is my friend. We were in the university together. If Raila Odinga is the problem of this country, then I don't know which country Musale has been staying in. The reason is very simple. Everybody amongst all of us who are politicians have a history now. Where were you at a certain time? What did you do at that time? What have you stood for from the time when you decided to get into politics? And if you compare the history of Raila, everybody who disagrees, I would very easily come up and raise issues about Raila which have nothing to do with demonizing him. And by the way, this is the politics that I think for me, we really must try very hard to get out of. All right? I try so hard, even when I completely disagree with some of the things the deputy president does. I find it morally my responsibility to make sure that I don't demonize the man, because he has people, he has something he believes in, he talks about it. I may disagree with it. But when Musalia stands up and says that the problem of Kenyan politics is Raila, the truth is Raila has a history where we know it. From 1982, you can decide to say he was whatever he was, and I've seen this on social media groups of people who support the deputy president and other quarters trying to come up with this argument that actually Raila should be considered to be a criminal. The truth and the reality is 1982, we were there, some of us. And for anybody to take the position that because at some point in all these countries, there is a point where the people who are strong enough will take position to remove a leadership out of power by any means necessary. And that's when you have dictatorship, that's when we have bad governance, that is when you are subjugating people to discrimination, that is when you have no equity, that is when you don't have fairness, and that is when you push people beyond a certain point. And that is where Kenya had reached in 1992. Now fast forward, we have a constitution which Kina Raila fought for. We were there, Dr. Nyikal. Every single thing that we are supposed to have, and you were there, as the trade union movement with NAT. Who are the people championing for NAT to become a commission? It is Kina Raila. Who are the people talking about devolution? It's Kina Raila. Raila was a champion of these things. So even when he's made these political mistakes, and there are several of them, I find it completely unacceptable that you are going to try and demonize him. Or we are going to try and demonize the deputy president because we disagree with him. Give me the reasons why you think you don't want me to vote for Raila. I will hear you. Tell me why you think I should vote for somebody else on the other side, and let me make that decision. So what Musalia is saying, I mean, look at his political history, and he's my friend. We meet and talk. All right? And I respect him because Musalia has held serious government positions. He has done whatever he was supposed to do. What is his record politically? All right, and I can face and challenge him directly. What has Musalia's record politically on anything as we speak today, other than Raila is his punching bag? It's like me making my politics that I'm going to start insulting William Ruto and saying Ruto is the problem of this country. No, the problems of our country are much more complex than William Ruto as a person.
Thank you. Nikal.
You see, when he says that Raila is the problem in Kenyan politics, I would rather say he's probably the medicine in Kenyan politics. Because every time when we seem to be going in a direction that is not correct, he actually has been very active. In the multi-party politics, when we were changing Section 2A, he was there. In 92, he was very active. You remember Kasarani? He actually played an important role at that time. When we were even when actually people were feeling in 2002, that really went into KANU, tried to get KANU together, and as the honorable member here was saying, when it looked that President Moi was actually now going to impose somebody on the country, he actually came out very strongly and said, no, that's not going to happen, and he came out. When we felt that we need to change the constitution, again, he was very instrumental in the movement to change the constitution. The first time people disagreed on the first draft of the constitution, he took a different stand. Again, even if you take a different stand, but eventually you want the thing get there. When they came into the coalition, then he was very instrumental in getting the 2010 constitution to pass. When we come to the issue of devolution, really, you cannot minimize his contribution to that. So if you say all those are problems in politics, then what you mean to say, you just want a country where even things are going wrong, nobody stands out to say, you let it as go. So on that thing, I actually disagree with that totally. But you had asked something, and you are coming to Azmio.
Yeah, can you allow me just to take a short break? Then I'll circle back with you, right? Let me just take a short break right now. I'll circle back with you as well. Don't go away. Much more coming up on the other side of a break. We continue with Siasa Fiesta.
KTN News. Get the whole story.
Tunapiga hatua zaidi kukuletea habari papo hapo popote ulipo. Taarifa zenye viwango vya juu ambazo zina ubora na vile tendeti.
Kwa kuchambua hadi ndani bila kujali changamoto, tunaibuka kuwa bora zaidi kwa kutoa taarifa zenye mashiko.
Tunakusanya na kupakulia taarifa zenye uhakika wa hali ya juu. Maoni ni baadaye. Ni taarifa zenye ubora wa aina yake na zitakazo kunufaisha.
KTN News. Get the whole story.
Wewe mwananchi wa Kenya hauna uhuru, unakamatwa ovyo, unaingiliwa usiku, njiani unanyang'anywa vitu vyako vya hoka. Uhuru huo umetoka, lakini sasa Ford imerudisha uhuru huo, utembee na kifua mbele.
Every game, set, and match will be bigger and better than ever before. With our star-studded team, Bernardo Tieno, James Wakabi, Ken Chege, a night full of facts, analysis, and sport culture from all over Africa.
This Saturday, we bring you the story of a Kenyan banker based in the US who turns his house into a club.
Happy Father's Day, because I'll be a father next year.
We hang out as friends, no judgment zone, and we're able to just have conversations that are to help you.
I met back up here, we got engaged here, and at the party from our marriage was here.
Instead of me going to specific clubs which cater for specific cultures, I decided, you know what? Why don't we do it at my house?
That's exactly what Charles did. So make sure you join me this Saturday at 5:30 as I bring you the story of Charles, aka Club Charles, with my co-host Chris. Make sure you tune in on KTN News.
KTN News. Get the whole story.
Nothing would have happened tonight. But
right, welcome back.
You had a big conflict.
All right, Nikal, we're back on air. Thank you very much. Hold on to your point, and I think you've not also forgotten the point that you are actually, to put forward before you took a short break. Welcome back. You're watching Siasa Fiesta here on the Morning Prime. Before you took a short break, I think I had cut you short. Yeah, you can continue with the thought.
We were talking of Raila being the problem in Kenyan politics, and I had mentioned, and again, whenever we have come to a crisis, a really, really serious crisis, like in 2007, which I can remember very well, because I was in the health, and when there's a crisis, health normally bears the brunt. He came out and they began to Kilaguni with the president, and although he was one of the main contenders, he said, let's get the past, let's have peace, and peace reigned, and you had a coalition government, and a lot of things were actually brought. Even the infrastructure we were talking about, actually they were planned at that time. So he did that. This time again, 2017, we had a serious problem in the country. Things were not working. Again, he said, okay, let me put my interests aside. Let's see. I don't think you can call that person the problem in politics. As I was saying, he probably is the medicine from time to time. But I was going on to say about the Azmio. The only thing me I look at from that point is unity. What is our problem from 1963? We inherited a state. We didn't inherit a nation because we still had fractured communities which were being run by force by the colonial government, and they gave us a state which is run by constitution, run by the laws, run by departments and institutions. But we didn't struggle to create a place, a region called a nation where everybody feels I'm part of it. Whoever is in power, I'm safe. And to me, Azmio is really the most serious attempt I've seen since 1963 to say, okay, let's leave the issue of the state, let's look at the nation. How do we create nation? What are the forces that make us always fight after every day?
But how dramatically different is it from Okoa Kenya agenda? Because I think if you look at Azimio and you look at Okoa Kenya agenda as well, there is no departure. There is nothing that is diametrically different from it.
And if you
it is just a copy-paste.
And if you look at BBI, but then it makes the sense. We haven't reached. Even in Okoa Kenya, we were trying to create unity, to create a nation. Even in the BBI, we were saying, what divides us? Let's put these points together. And again, as Honorable Sisson was saying, had the deputy president, had he been in part of it, the BBI would have passed very nicely, which means in terms of content, they had no problem with BBI except a few people. But their sense of, that's not for me, it's not taking anywhere, so they left away. Now, even when we come to Azmio, when we look at the points that are being brought out, again, you are like, how do we create a nation in which people feel safe? And you go to the point, what are the issues that are bothering us? Even if you look at the 10 points, would you disagree that those issues in the 10 points are not issues that are Kenyans we need to address. Even if you look at the 9 points, the 9 agenda, are they not issues that we need to address?
I'm eagerly waiting to see also what UDA will come up with as well, so that we can have a comparative analysis. Just
we'll read both side by side.
Side by side, and we see now who is copy-pasting who has a very winsome idea that we've never seen in this country. Let me come to you, Rigathi, and find out also, first of all, why is UDA postponing? I think you are planning to have primaries, and now that has been postponed as well. What could be the hitch on the ground?
First and foremost, before I answer that one, my brother here said that the deputy president has never meant well for the president. I totally disagree. Deputy President William Ruto has campaigned for Uhuru Kenyatta 4 times. He has voted for him 4 times. These guys have never voted for him. So they have no moral authority to say that the deputy president has never meant well for the president. He said as his principal assistant, he should have gone ahead and supported the BBI because the president is supporting it. The deputy president is also a Kenyan who has a mind to exercise. And according to the deputy president and all of us, Kenya does not need a constitutional movement. There is no crisis. What this country needs is a Kibaki moment to revive the economy and to really think about people's welfare, because people are down, people have no food, people have no work. And according to the deputy president and most of us, is that the constitutional changes are not a priority. And this is a democracy. It doesn't mean because he's a principal assistant to the president, he must agree with whatever the president says without consultation, unilaterally, without discussion. If the president had brought this issue, and the way the president said, he told him about BBI. He never told him it's about the constitution. He told him it's bringing peace together. And the deputy president even suggested some people to the committee. But on the side of Raila, he brought experts because he knew it's the constitution. Ruto suggested people who have no even capacity to really get into a constitution-making process. It was deceit. You know, the president knew from the beginning he wanted to change the constitution. But he didn't tell the deputy president as such. He said, we are trying to bring Kenya together. Let us suggest some elders. And the deputy president suggested some names. Only later for things to change, you know, and then it became a constitution-making process. And we are saying what we need is a Kibaki moment. We need to revive the economy. We need economic interventions. We need to create employment. We need to put money in people's pocket. We need to deal with the public debt. We need people-centered issues, not leadership.
But
you know?
if
but the BBI, and I can understand the president's frustration, because I've listened to him now twice during national celebrations, saying that the BBI will come one day.
We'll come back to
he's very, very frustrated. The BBI, I can tell you, without blinking an eye, was a 2022 thing. It was to create 5 positions to enable the president to create a winning coalition. And by creating those 5 positions, he would have dished Raila, Kalonzo, and now there's nothing to dish. And that is why they're in a quagmire.
But
that is why
what was Azimio Convention all about as well? Because this is also a spawning ground for coalition. You have majority leader in parliament as well.
That's okay, but you see now
Political Parties Act
what Uhuru Kenyatta
identify the coalition parties or the coalition agreements to be identified by the political registrar of parties as parties. So the coalition can morph into parties as well. So if you say it was just to create positions at the end of the day, we would as well not use the referendum way. There are so many avenues, and we can see this is happening right now.
All of you on
the 21st of December be in Parliament for this special sitting.
I'm just saying, you are talking of Azimio la Umoja, bringing people together. But you are not bringing everybody together. You are fighting one person and his entire following, which is very huge. You are not being honest. If you wanted to bring Kenya, together,
yes.
And that is where ourselves we differed with the president from the beginning. We told President Uhuru Kenyatta, our friend and our brother, it is good to bring Kenya together. The handshake is a beautiful thing, but let's bring everybody on board. Let's not build new bridges and destroy old ones.
Thank you.
You see, Kenya is more divided than it was before the handshake.
Let me just ask you, because if the deputy president was a bit subdued and followed, what Uhuru is doing right now, you say, of course, he's got his own head. Yeah, he can make his own decision. But if you are the deputy president and you also under you know, his direction in terms of the policy, the way the government should head. He claims to be, or he appears to be, a very pious mind person and who really reads the Bible, right? Romans chapter 13, he quotes the Bible. Let me also whip up a verse from the Bible as well. It says, let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, whoever rebels against authority is rebelling against what God has instituted. And those who do so will bring judgment on themselves.
That is true. You must respect authority.
You must respect
as
authority.
long as authority is doing the right thing. You can't follow authority that is doing the wrong thing. Deputy President is a Kenyan. In his mind, in his reasoning, and most of us agree, is that what the president is doing, making constitution and making a priority, it's not the right thing. The priority for this country is economic revival.
Thank you.
Therefore, even as you obey authority, you must obey lawful authority, an authority that is legitimately taking care the interests of the people that you lead.
Right.
But you cannot take people into a constitutional making process when what they need is not that, is economic revival.
I think that one will turn out to be a bit philosophical when we're talking about obeying authorities and...
you brought it up.
I brought it up. I think it will be a bit philosophical. We'll broach it a bit, yes.
My point of departure with the argument that my brother is making is simple. And I've listened to several individuals who are friends and close people who are with the DP making an argument that, in fact, Jubilee was doing so well that the president decided to rock the boat. The first 5 years of Jubilee had not less than, I can't even count the number of scandals that were coming out. Why did the economy tank? It tanked because of the amount of corruption, the amount of mismanagement, the decisions which were made, the increment of our debt. The first 5 years of Jubilee. We moved from 1.9 trillion shillings of debt to the point whereby by the time we won the second election, we were at 6 trillion. And when you look at these projects and you try and find out where exactly did the money go, which are the projects that you can actually look out there and say, these are actually projects which every Kenyan is proud of. It is shocking. So the same team that has been with the president, including the deputy president, of course, during his second term, he has really not played any major role in that. And there are people who will say, in fact, Uhuru has managed his management and governance of this country better on his second term than during the first term. What you have, and you hear the team saying, what we need to do is invigorate the economic upstarts and make sure that we have economic growth and we are going to come up with this. The truth is, our country is broke. I want to hear whether it is going to be Raila as president or deputy president as president. I want to hear them tell me, how are we going to get out of the debt that we are in right now? And indeed, in politics, we must hold people accountable who participated and who created the mess we are in. And this is the issue that many of us have actually discussed. And we are saying, imagine you have a secondary school teacher who's a principal and his deputy, and they start a school. And this school, by the time they take it over, the debts which the school had was about 2 million shillings. After they ran the school for 10 years, you find the debts are 100 million. Would you want to promote the same principal and the deputy and give them a bigger school and give them more work? And yet production from the school is at zero. Those are the issues we should be discussing right now.
Yeah, maybe the teacher will let us in. And would you do that at the end of the day?
Yeah, if the deputy has a lot of understanding about the management of the school and can be certified, then you can appoint the deputy to take over. So what we are discussing, particularly in terms of the economy, all these issues are debatable. But if you look at Moi, when he retired, he left the domestic debts, at 650 billion shillings. And that is why Kibaki was able to do a lot within 10 years. And when Kibaki retired, in a period of 10 years, he left the domestic debts at 1.2 trillion, with roads very well done across the country, with free education, with CDF, and with a very good, robust financial sector and working microfinance institution, high level of democracy and human rights. And in fact, it was an opportunity for Uhuru Kenyatta as president, who is accountable for the management and day-to-day running of the country. You cannot apportion it on the deputy. It is the head who bears the responsibility. Now, right now, as we are discussing, the debts of this country are almost at 9 trillion. And even the next president will find it completely impossible to run this country. And let us not take responsibility where it doesn't belong.
Yeah, that's what I want to ask you. The next president, if you were, of course, pushing the envelope for William Ruto, how then will he,
and by the way,
exonerate himself from that particular scenario?
Deba, in fact, he's the best bet because he has understudied everything that has gone on within government. That when you look at the bottom-up economic model, and you cannot say UDA has not come out with a manifesto. It's already out there running. It's building up. And the bottom-up economic model...
It still remains it's just a model. It is not a manifesto.
Yes, it is. It is a model. And it's the most revolutionary model. If you look at models all over the world, it is a model of the Democratic Party in the US and Social Democrats in Germany and Labour Party in the UK.
But my question has always been...
And you see, with these debts that have been created over time, the level of poverty where Kenyans are is so bad. And it will require some revolutionary approach.
All right. So just search me a second. Just search me a second. Ask you a simple question.
Number two, when you look
before you go to number two, I want to build on what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. On this economic model, because I'm also at a great loss to understand how measurably different is, the bottom-up economic model from what devolution is offering right now. If Deputy President will say, we'll be actually doling out or giving out this 54 billion shillings, down to the lower cadre of the society, hasn't devolution, just a moment, hasn't devolution prepared for you the infrastructure to do that? Or what other mechanism? That is a complete departure from devolution.
But look at the level of attack on devolution by Jubilee government. Where is Nairobi County? It was obliterated and handed over to the military. And that is half the economy of this country. Look at the allocation, progressive allocation to devolution. It has not progressed. And that is why UD and the Deputy President are right to put on the table the most revolutionary model that is structured, the bottom-up. It's not a Kenyan definition. It's a global definition. It's practice. And what it's all about is about lifting all the poor from at the bottom class to out of poverty, and with a structured, simple way of doing it. This is when you are focusing on number one, employment and a labor-intensive economy.
Thank you.
That is a great sacrifice and is a bold move, and that is why you see the rich, the millionaires are fighting it. Because they know.
Thank you very much.
Let me ask a simple question.
Just hang on a second.
Addressing poverty will be at the grassroots level. Resources will move down. In fact, the bottom-up economic model is only going to enhance and strengthen devolution. Number two, if we are focusing in financing the micro, small enterprises with real money and with a real program, it is one of the most revolutionary. And then other aspects, protecting farmers. Protecting farmers.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has come also.
So when you look at all that model and all that program, which is already very clear, and it has been placed on the table, Kenyans will not just be voting for William Ruto as the president. They will be voting
thank you very much. Thank you, Socio.
And I think
to me,
that is a panacea of
let me just answer
the complex that has been created by Uhuru Kenyatta.
Those are winsome ideas that we can see. Yeah, there's shining factors as far as the economic model is concerned. But if you try and put them under the model itself, you'll find there's nothing new completely. When you talk about the microfinance, we still have institutions, we have mechanisms right now.
But
even the...
But Dibali,
the authority of SMEs as it were right now. You only strengthen this particular...
If already you are portioning 100 billion into the labor-intensive sectors, which is apportioned across the constituencies, that is a drastic measure.
Thank you.
Let me ask.
Just
bottom-up economic model.
Okay, just a moment now. Search me a second. Search. Thank you.
Revolutionary measures.
Let's hear from
I want
Honorable
to ask a very simple question. This model, this thing called bottoms up, where is it? We can talk about fluently when we are here on the table, but when we want people to scrutinize something, we put it down. You know, an old man once told me, reading maketh a man, there's something like that. But he said, writing maketh a man perfect. So when all these good ideas, put them down, let them have, we can have a look at it.
Yeah,
we are saying you are very fast. When we are very fast, this is what, if we are going to campaign, we should have been campaigning on the basis of a document that people can look at. You look at the policy in the document, you look at possible programs that can arise from it, and then you say, yeah, this is something we can do. If today, the way we are going, it looks like we'll go to the election when we are still just talking about it, then you are forming a government. If you put the professional to look, it looks to me like that is the time we are now going to sit down and start. We want a document that can look, and you say when you go there, 100 days, we can, this point number 1, this point number 2. Please, let us have the document. But there's one thing he said, that if you are boss and you read the Romans, and I think you'll give me that, I want to read it further, that you have to actually obey authority, because that is the beginning of cohesion. If everybody that is in place agrees with the system that had been set up. True, if you feel that in your mind, what the person in authority, your boss is saying, you totally disagree with it, you cannot keep staying in that position. There's only one honorable position to take, leave. You cannot say, I don't agree, I have my mind of my own, what my boss is saying is not right, but you keep being there, and you know, because of the structure, as you said, what has been put in place, you are unable to change it. You don't even pretend to leave, but you are still there. You actually are creating confusion. The honorable thing is say, I'm out of here, I'm going to chart my way, come with clear documents, and we look at, say, I think it's right, he couldn't stay there, this is the way he wants to take us. But right now, even when we are talking UDA, the deputy president still uses the resources of the state, the same structure that he is against. The first thing would have been to leave it.
Rigathi.
To start with, let them hold their horses. Even Raila has not done a manifesto. He has given a 10-point agenda of what he wants to do. The bottom-up economic model is undergoing intense public participation.
Let's give 3 points agenda.
UDA, you have your own style. Everybody has his own style. UDA is a people-centered party. We don't want just to come up with a manifesto just like that. That's why we have meetings every day. A lot of engagement is going on. The deputy president has given out a roadmap of what he thinks we need to do to put this country back on track. But he's receptive to ideas. And until we get the views of everybody, including those down there, those who are disregarded, the mamambogas, the ones they don't like hearing us mention, the border people, the small-scale traders, the hawkers, we are getting their input. After we have collected input from everybody, and the deputy president and his economic team has their own thinking, it will be put together, and there will be a manifesto next year. So there's no problem. Number 2, you cannot say that the deputy president cannot do much because things have not worked when he is deputy president. Mwai Kibaki was Minister of Finance and Vice President to President Moi, and the economy was down. When he was given the steering wheel, the economy went up. This country is run by a president. The rest are his people. But the leadership that is provided at the top is what makes a difference.
Right.
Because Mwai Kibaki was President, Moi is the Vice President for 10 years, and nothing was moving. But the day he was given the country to run, he made a serious difference. We are saying Uhuru Kenyatta has been running government for the last 4 years without William Ruto. He is nowhere. And he said there was a lot of corruption in the first term. That is true.
Thank you.
There is equally a lot of corruption in the second term when Ruto is not there. The president himself, Uhuru Kenyatta, my friend, is on record saying that Kenya is losing 2 billion shillings every day. And I don't know why he was telling us what he wants us to do. He's the president. He should deal with it. The COVID haste, the COVID billionaires, he gave 21 days to get a report. It is 1 year. No action has been taken. Ruto has been out of government. You know? He has been out of government.
Thank you.
And I want to say, before I...
Even as we prepare our headline thoughts, because we're supposed to wind up. Please, yes.
Even as my brother here, Honorable Nyonka, demonizes Musalia for saying Raila is the problem of this country. The chief propagator of that narrative is President Uhuru Kenyatta. He's the one who told us more than 30 times, okay, how Raila is the problem of this country. So even as we say Musalia is wrong, you know, and the other day I had in Azimio, listen, just a minute, I had in Azimio.
It ends there.
No,
Musalia is wrong.
A guy called Murabe was saying in Azimio that we are the ones who went and cheated the people of Mount Kenya that Raila is very bad. Raila is a good man. No, that's what he was saying.
Yeah, but which is true.
No, I'm saying we cheated the people of Mount Kenya. We are now going and tell them the truth. The people of Mount Kenya are saying, if you cheated us then, how do we trust you? You are going to cheat us again. You know, because you cannot say, and what Murathe was saying is that President Uhuru Kenyatta cheated the people of Mount Kenya. People are saying, if you cheated us that time, are you telling us now what has happened?
Yeah, we're supposed to be winding up.
I'm actually happy that we are having this conversation. Today is when I have listened to his comment that the person who's been demonizing Raila is Uhuru, and I'm like, oh my God, I've never seen it like that. But I think our politics, my brothers, I wish we would stick to discussing like we've done today. Let's discuss the issues. How are we going to look at a country that will become better? How are we going to make sure we solve the issues that we have had? Without personalizing.
Yes, because Onyonka, we're pinched for time.
Yes.
And I think I wanted also Rigathi to qualify for us.
Yes.
Because they are looking at this base, you know, of the informal sector.
Yes.
And largely, we've been having a problem in this country on taxing the informal sector. How are you planning on taxing this broad base of, you know, the mamambogas, the borders that you've been talking about? Because also that is a big pull that KRA has been struggling with on how they can, you know, formalize taxation on this. That's the informal sector.
You are right.
Honestly, I wish that we would have that discussion on another day.
On another day.
Huge.
It's huge. Okay, fine.
Anyway,
really,
before we do that, I want to...
No. It will be fair for him to finish. No, it will be fair for him to finish.
Just one on your quotation from the Bible. The Bible also says, follow me as I follow Christ, but not headed to Satan. So as long...
Which verse is that?
As long...
I think I'm briefing.
I'll give you the verse. As you follow me as I follow Christ, but not to Satan. So what you are saying is, as long as you are doing the right things...
Yes.
As long as you are doing the right things, we'll follow and obey authority.
Follow Satan, I think.
I'm not saying it's a verse. I'm saying in terms of the interpretation of the Bible.
You're paraphrasing.
Yeah, paraphrasing.
Okay.
Follow me as I follow Christ, but not headed to Satan. So as long as the king is doing the right thing, that's what we follow.
But you can't follow Christ and then say to Satan, you are...
To Satan is added his own addition.
No, but
you know, for Rigathi to emphasize his point, Satan has to be there in that particular scenario. And we don't have Satan in that particular verse.
Let me tell you what he's saying. Follow me as I follow Christ, but not to Satan. The person ahead is Christ. So what he's saying is Christ is following Satan. That I don't think we can take.
Don't massacre the Bible. All right, let me just give you 20 seconds each of you to just wind up. Begin with you, Honorable Onyonka. 20 seconds.
Thank you. I'm happy to have an opportunity to be with my colleagues. I think it makes us become a better country when we can discuss the issues affecting the ordinary mwananchi. I am happy that UDA are going to come up with a manifesto. We'll interrogate it and pick out the issues which are great. I'm waiting to see what ODM and Party Leader Raila are going to do. I am for universal income, which is what Raila's announced. In fact, it's an idea we discussed about 7 years ago. The US is looking at the poverty levels. You're looking at Britain and all the other countries.
20 seconds down.
The quickest way you solve the problem is to intervene, and then after that come with a sustainable way to sort out our poverty.
Honorable Susan, thank you. 20 seconds.
I think 2022 is an epic moment for Kenyans, like it was in 2002. And the big agenda is the poverty in this country. And Kenyans would like to see a president who is very responsive to the levels of poverty, a president who will uphold the rule of law and respect the judiciary and promote democracy and human rights.
Thank you.
And I think that is what is highly contained in the United Democratic Alliance.
As we go to 2022, I think we should bring down a bit the discussion on maneuvers of individuals and parties as they are seeking power, and start to discuss what these individuals and parties bring out in written, clear form that we can discuss, so that we know where they are taking us. Just discussing them alone is not enough.
Thank you. Right, and I think that regarding this way, you need to bring that particular document.
To our young people to register as voters, because they are the biggest stakeholders in this coming election. They have to define their future. They have to decide the kind of government that they want to put in place. They are the ones who need jobs. They are the ones who need a future. And they cannot simply stay away because they have been disappointed. I would like to urge them to register as voters and be part of the democratic process and really elect a government that will create a Kibaki moment, economic revival, creation of jobs, creating of wealth, so that we can restore the dignity of the Kenyan people.
Fantastic. Let's wind it at that particular point. Thank you so very much for that cogent discussion we've had. I really do appreciate you waking up this morning very early to be here on time. And I look forward, of course, to engaging and teasing out also that particular tax question as well. And, of course, your document, so that we can try and tease out also as Milo Moja, you know, in tandem with the document as well. Thank you very much for coming through. All right, thank you for your valued company as well. You've been watching Siasa Fiesta here on Morning Prime. A very cogent discussion we've had with the panelists this morning. Thank you for your contribution. I really do appreciate it. Continues the pace on the next phase. Of course, it's All Matters Academia with Jesse Rogers. Don't go away.
KTN News. Get the whole story. A loved one is never easy. The lingering memories, the what-ifs, but in all the gloom, we find ways of celebrating them. And here at the Standard Tributes, we aim to give your loved ones that befitting send-off. Visit www.standardmedia.co.ke/tributes today and post your loved one's tribute. In addition, get access to funeral services from our trusted vendors. The Standard Tributes, keeping memories alive. The world has witnessed various shifts that have majorly disrupted most, if not all, countries globally.
COVID will not be defeated by locking us all down and by shutting off parts of the world that you think are problematic.
Top contenders have shifted focus to issues that could best entice the young voters with the hopes of increasing their numbers.
Tumekula carrot, tumefungua macho, tunaona mbali sana karibu kilomita 5 sahihi. Na tumeamua this round hakuna vita tunafanya, hata sisi wacha tuangalie mwelekeo tutaenda.
But are young people alive to the kind of numerical strength they have?
Na yetu wanataka ID. Governor si tunampea kura kila miaka 5 lakini hataki kujua.
What is the likelihood that they can transform their society?
An obligation to ensure that there is peace. We don't want a situation where every 5 years certain people suffer because of elections.
This and much more, Front Row interrogates for you. Be our guest.
mkiulizia mwanahabari fulani